Welcome to the Balance It Method podcast. If you're a working mom juggling a career, kids, housework, a social life, and endless piles of laundry, then you are in the right place, my friend. I'm Tamara, a mom, business owner, and your balanced living bestie. Each week, we will discuss simple, practical ways to better manage your time and energy so you can get things checked off that to-do list without burning yourself out in the process. If you're ready to take off that busy badge of honor and finally take control over life's chaos, then let's take this journey together as we learn how to balance it. Hello, my friends, and welcome back to another episode of the Balance It Method podcast. I'm your host, Tamara, and if you're new around here, welcome, my friend. This is the place where us working moms are coming together to get out of survival mode and move into a place of more ease, more structure, and more predictability in our days so that we can get stuff checked off that never-ending to-do list and be able to relax for a little while. And as somebody that helps working moms be able to do this in their lives, I can't tell you how many times I've watched other moms, and this happened to me as well, which is why I do what I do. I watch those moms hit a point where everything just feels too hard, and I watched them give up on what they're doing. So whether they've, tried to make a structure to organize their week, whether they've tried to maybe start a side hustle business, whether they've, got this great idea of something that they want to do for a project, I've watched them put it on their calendar. I've watched them create schedules around it. And then I've watched them completely give up on it. I've watched those calendars get wiped blank. I've watched any structure that they had built kind of just fall to the wayside. And I've heard them say things like, everything just feels like it's slipping through my fingers, like I can't hold on to any of it. Because here's the thing that we're told when life is really hard or heavy as moms, or as anybody living in this world, is that we have to try a little harder. It's our discipline. We need to be more disciplined. We need to be more motivated. We need to lean in a little closer, try a little harder, hustle a little harder. And I'm here to tell you right now that that is the reason your systems are breaking. That is the reason you can't stick to your routines. You're too close to them. You're too close to what's happening in your life. So today we're going to go through some of the foundational things that you need to do when you're starting to build in structure in your life so that it is sustainable and it honors your capacity. But first, let's talk about why leaning in closer is not going to help you whatsoever. So let me give you an example of this. Let's take a look inside the life of a fictional character we're going to call Sarah. So Sarah works a full-time job. She has 2 kids. One is in school, one is in daycare. Evenings feel really chaotic. There's a lot of running around to different activities. Mornings feel really chaotic. It's hard to get out the door on time. By Wednesday, she already feels like next week she's behind because she's had to push her to-do list over to the next week's to-do list. And what she's experiencing is like she's always scrambling. She's staying up too late trying to catch up. She feels like she never starts her day on solid footings. And so she decides the problem is probably the morning. She should just be more disciplined and get up earlier. So she sets her alarm for 5 a.m. Because she's heard that that's what successful people do, the 5 a.m. club, right? So she gets up at 5 a.m. Maybe she does that for like a week at best, right? Like we put these things, set them up, and we do them. We're really proud of ourselves. And then one night her kid is up in the night and he's sick. And the next morning when her alarm goes off at 5 o'clock, she does not have the desire to get up. And then that day with her sick kid is really hard. And so the next morning when her alarm goes off at 5 o'clock, she doesn't want to get up then. And then that goes on for a few days. And then it's really hard for her to try and get back on track. And then she's blaming herself, telling herself that she's not disciplined enough, that she doesn't have the motivation enough to stick with this. And that is why everything is broken. And so she gives up. Now, maybe you're like, Oh my God, I'm Sarah. Because we've all been there, right? Like we've tried these things, we've done the things that other motivated, I'm doing that in air quotes, motivated people do to be successful and to stay on top of all the tasks that they have going on. But it doesn't work for us. And we're told in society, we're told like when things feel chaotic, we're told the answer is just like try harder, focus harder, be more efficient, try to be more disciplined. And so we think we're doing the right thing in overhauling an area of our life, but what that's doing is creating unrealistic expectations, and it's not taking into account the big picture of what's going on. So if you've ever been the person like Sarah that blames yourself for your poor time management skills, that is actually not the issue. The issue is probably your energy, your capacity, or your boundaries. And so today we're going to dig into how to identify what the real problem is, what the underlying foundational problem is. And we're not going to look so much at the symptoms of what's going on. We're going to look underneath that. So before you can actually know what you want to change or what needs to change in your daily structure, you really need to zoom out and get a bigger picture of things. So it always takes me back to when I was in fine art school and we'd be working on paintings in this classroom, and you'd be working on the same painting for hours on end, and it would start to get really frustrating. And that was the one rule we had in the classroom was if you're starting to get frustrated and angry with your work, you need to step back, look away for a minute, and then look back with some distance. And usually the solution appears to you when you have a clearer overall view of what's going on. So the way that I teach this is for women to first start tracking their time. And I know this is the thing nobody wants to do, right? Nobody wants to write down what they're doing every minute of the day. Well, that's not how we track time. Actually, there's a much lower lift than that inside the Balance It method. There are 4 areas of your day that we look at. And it's really, really not that difficult to. I'm not going to say that it's super easy because there is some effort to it, but it is a lot easier than trying to remember to write down what you're doing all day, every day. And actually, I did record another episode on my time inventory that I teach women to do so that we can start to identify the patterns inside of those inventories and be able to pull out the actual foundational fixes that need to be made. So if you want to dive into this a little further, or even just learn about it, if you're just curious, I'll link that episode in the show notes below. So once we have that zoomed out view of what we have going on in our day-to-day lives, then we start to identify the patterns. And the first pattern that we look for and the first things we start to pull out are our non-negotiable tasks. So these are the tasks. I talk about these nonstop on here, so you're probably familiar if you've been here for any amount of time. But non-negotiable tasks are the tasks that we have to do no matter what, right? They're non-negotiable. That means they need to be done probably when we're not even home. Like if we're on vacation, we probably still need to do these things. They are the tasks that keep everyone alive and the wheels turning in our lives. And then the other patterns that we look for and the other things that we pull out of that inventory are your core needs. Because no system can survive if you're ignoring the needs behind it. If your week doesn't support your sleep, regulation and movement, if it doesn't support connection to your loved ones, if it doesn't support eating healthy, those are just a few examples. They might not be core needs for everyone, but they're some of mine. If these areas aren't supported in your week and protected with boundaries, then no matter how good the plan is that you've built, no matter how pretty the containers you bought, no matter how nice the planner is that you bought, your systems will come crashing to the ground and you will be burnt out. And that is just not the vibe around here, my friends. So once we've zoomed out, once we know the patterns for our non-negotiable tasks, once we know what we need for our core needs, then we can start building systems and structures to support all of it. And everyone's schedule is going to be, or everyone's systems are going to be different than everyone else's. I can give you ideas, which is what I do often, ideas of systems. But if you were to take that exact system, the way that I do it, and copy and paste it into your life, I guarantee you it's not going to fulfill all of your core needs. It's not going to work perfectly in your life because it was designed for mine, not yours. And so that's why this work is really important. The zooming out process and then identifying the foundational problems and creating systems to fix that. So if you're hearing this and this is hitting home for you and you're that mom that's like constantly in survival mode, constantly trying new things, but they keep breaking and failing, then I want you to go back and listen to that time tracking episode that I've linked up below. And if you want to take it a step further, I'm also going to link up my Simplified Week workshop. It's a totally free workshop that you can watch. It's less than 30 minutes long, and it will help you to get some visuals on pulling out those non-negotiable tasks. In addition, it will help you to create a weekly blueprint, which is the structure that we use inside the Balance It method to make sure that our tasks, whether they're the non-negotiable tasks or any of our core needs systems, are falling into the right places to make sure that our week is balanced energetically and capacity-wise. Okay, my friends, I hope that this episode was helpful for you to understand what might be going on in your chaotic day-to-day life as a working mom. And if it was, make sure you are subscribed or followed along with the podcast so that you get notified for the next episode. And I will see you back here for that one next week. Bye, guys.